All mortals long for a sweet and deep slumber in the quietest hours of the night. Yet, do you know that the very deity who weaves beautiful dreams for humanity amidst the pitch blackness is himself condemned to an eternal, everlasting wakefulness? He dwells in the sunless, profound depths of the underworld where no ray of light ever pierces and no sound ever echoes, surrounded only by tranquil poppies swaying in the windless gloom. He is the loneliest among all the gods, capable of conjuring 10,000 different mortal countenances, yet possessing no true visage of his own. Tonight, by the gently dancing flames of the hearth, let us journey together into his true, hidden life through this tale that requires no effort to remember. Try to release the cluttered, heavy thoughts accumulated during the daytime, and allow your longings and weariness to slowly dissolve into the enveloping darkness. Together, we shall push open the grand palace gates fashioned from ivory and water lilies, seeking the silent footsteps of Morpheus, the god of dreams. In the long stretch of time that lies ahead, there is no need for your mind to analyze, nor any need to chase after a definitive resolution. Only a gentle breeze and the faint, ethereal fragrance of flowers will guide your drifting consciousness, step by step, toward the deepest, most serene velvet night. In the grand and clamorous realm of Greek mythology, Mount Olympus is forever rife with fierce struggles, pride, and blinding radiance. Yet, tucked away in the deepest recesses of the gloomy underworld, there exists a realm born of a completely opposite nature. That is the silent domain belonging to Hypnos, the god of sleep, and the sacred sanctuary where his son, Morpheus, was brought into being. The air here remains forever frozen and unchanging, untouched by the rising or setting of the sun, and indifferent to the waxing or waning of the moon. The quiet river Lethe, the waters of forgetfulness, flows softly past the palace gates, drifting along without making even the faintest whisper of a sound. It was within this utter, supreme tranquility that the young Morpheus first opened his eyes to the world. His father possessed massive, obsidian wings, and whenever the curtain of night fell, he would scatter the heavy powders of sleep upon the mortal world. But Morpheus was destined for a different path, entrusted with a much finer, far weightier duty, the governance of the shapes and forms within dreams. Whenever humans drifted into deep sleep, their wandering souls would arrive at this soundless wasteland, waiting for destiny to manifest through visions. Morpheus stood before the colossal drapery woven of pure night, gazing upon those trembling mortal souls, his heart rising with a profound, wordless compassion. He realized that human suffering did not simply dissolve with the arrival of the night, rather, it was often amplified threefold within the isolation of sleep. Therefore, the young deity resolved to use his unique, ethereal powers to build a sacred sanctuary, a dam to shield fragile mortals against their pain. The core divinity and sacred office of Morpheus is the art of embodiment. In ancient Greek, his very name carries the meaning of the shaper, signifying his absolute power to freely alter his features, voice, and gait. He is capable of perfectly mimicking any living soul on earth, or assuming the form of those who have long since departed. When a faraway, homesick wanderer weeps bitterly in his sleep, Morpheus transforms into his kindly mother, extending a warm hand to soothe his brow. When an old man, sighing in the darkness over his lost love, calls out, Morpheus dons those familiar old clothes to meet him amidst the ruins of his dream. To ensure these illusions appeared entirely real, Morpheus spent his days stealthily walking the corners of the mortal world, silently observing human joys and sorrows. He recorded the subtle, warm rasps in a mother's voice, and memorized the weary, habitual way a farmer rubs his eyes at twilight. He collected these minute details of human life, treating them like precious drops of rain gathered in a parched, dry desert. Upon returning to his subterranean palace, he would practice these movements repeatedly in the dark, ensuring not a single flaw would break the illusion upon entering a dream. His divine brothers constantly mocked him, believing he was wasting his sacred, godlike powers upon lowly, insignificant mortals. Those brothers who held dominion over fear and nightmares preferred to wield terrifying monsters and yawning abysses to traumatize innocent sleepers. But Morpheus always chose to stand silently to one side, using his broad, protective black wings to shade those fragile souls from unexpected gloom. Throughout the passage of long ages, one particular human tragedy ensured that the name of Morpheus would be etched forever into legendary lore. It is the sorrowful tale of King Ceyx and his devoted queen, Alcyone. The king tragically perished during a perilous voyage when a violent storm overwhelmed his ship, drowning him in the deep, icy, and merciless sea. Yet his queen, entirely unaware of this devastating loss, continued to stand by the shore day after day, praying piously to the gods for her husband's safe return. Hera, the Queen of Heaven, could no longer bear to watch this passionate woman endure the agonizing torture of a false hope, and sent a messenger to the underworld for a resolution. This delicate, sorrowful task ultimately fell upon the shoulders of Morpheus. It would prove to be the weightiest, most emotionally devastating embodiment Morpheus had ever undertaken. He flew across the vast, roaring oceans and manifested within the Queen's chambers, where Alcyone was currently locked in a troubled, restless light sleep. He landed softly beside her bed, tucking his massive wings away, as his features began to shift until his black hair transformed into seawater-soaked golden curls. His skin turned pale and deathly cold, and his garments hung heavy with the briny scent of seafoam, dripping real water upon the floor. He had embodied the drowned king. He gazed down at the sleeping queen with eyes filled with boundless sorrow and tenderness, speaking in a low, trembling voice within her dream. "My beloved, wait for me no more by the lonely shore, the storm has taken my breath, but my love for you has never sunk beneath the waves. Loosen your tightly clenched hands, accept this truth, and then, I implore you, live well upon the earth in my stead." The queen wept loudly within her dream, reaching out frantically to grasp her husband, but her fingers touched only cold, dissipating mist. When she awoke startled to find a completely calm sea outside her window, she finally understood the true meaning of that vision, and her deepest wound found peace in the truth. Following this event, the devotion and faith mortals held for Morpheus grew intensely pious across the land. People began placing purple poppies by their pillows, using them as a sacred call to invoke the gentle god of dreams. They revered him as the solace of the night, the only deity who demanded no offerings of blood or gold, requiring only the surrender of their weariness to connect with him. Morpheus wandered through countless nights, his silent footsteps gracing both crumbling peasant huts and opulent, luxurious palaces. During the bloody days of the Trojan War, countless young soldiers lay dying in pools of blood, their confused souls panicking in the shadow of death. Morpheus would embody their trusted comrades or their faraway hometown loves, bringing the soothing scent of autumn wheat fields into their final, dying dreams. He watched the mortal world continuously tear itself apart through endless wars and insatiable desires, human suffering rising like an unceasing tide. Consequently, his own divine energy began to weaken under the weight of this ceaseless, draining consumption. For every single time he embodied another soul, he was forced to endure the full measure of that person's physical pain and heavy memories. He carried the accumulated sorrow of millions, bearing their unfulfilled regrets and the agonizing weight of their final deathbed farewells. Within his subterranean palace, the water lilies that were originally a pure, spotless white were gradually stained a soft, pale purple by these sorrowful memories. Yet he never once halted his footsteps, for he knew that in this cold, desolate, and harsh mortal world, a gentle dream is often humanity's very last salvation. With the passing of the ancient eras, the grand gods of Mount Olympus were gradually forgotten by the changing world. The once splendid golden temples collapsed into broken ruins, and the great statues of the war god and the god king lost their luster beneath the blowing sands. Yet, deep within the furthest depths of the underworld, that soundless subterranean palace maintained its original, timeless state. The quiet waters of Lethe continue to flow in absolute silence, and the poppies scatter their hypnotic, fragrant eternity into the dim air. Morpheus sits upon his throne woven of pure night, his massive black wings now laden with the fine dust of time. Humans no longer offer prayers to him, and poppies are rarely seen by bedsides, replaced by complex machines and potent drugs used to force the body into sleep. Yet, whenever the deep night arrives and modern souls feel utterly helpless and lonely within their towering high-rises, their consciousness still falls into this ancient domain. Morpheus still rises from his throne, shakes the dust from his wings, and walks softly toward those weary, modern souls. He no longer needs to meticulously mimic a specific mortal persona, for the pain of the modern era has become something abstract and hazy. Instead, he transforms into a gentle gust of wind, a wave of warm light resting upon a troubled brow, or a soothing melody whispering in the ear. In this hidden, infinitely gentler manner, he continues to fulfill the sacred promise he made millions of years ago. In this hurried, breathless modern era, he has become the safest shadow, encompassing all the fragility and tears humans refuse to show the light of day. As this tale draws to its close, the clamorous, chaotic world outside seems to have drifted far into the distance. The gentle god of dreams who dwells deep underground is perhaps, at this very moment, unfurling his broad black wings to softly shelter the room where you rest. He does not require you to remember his name, nor does he need you to know his ancient legends. He desires only that, within this night, you find true peace. The river Lethe past the palace gates flows on in absolute silence, carrying away your daytime anxiety, restlessness, and all your helpless confusion. The surrounding poppies bloom in quiet majesty, releasing a steady, comforting fragrance that coaxes your breathing to become lighter and slower. The night is perfectly fair, offering every living thing the chance to pause their steps and achieve a quiet self-reconciliation. Those unfinished wishes and the cares you could not release during the daylight hours, let them all be delivered into the hands of this gentle weaver. There is no longer any need to persist, nor any need to restrain yourself. The safe shadows surrounding you have formed an absolute safe harbor. Listen quietly to these last fading sounds, allowing your consciousness to drift like a falling feather, sinking soundlessly into the deepest, serenest depths of a dream. Good night, and may you find the sweetest, most gentle sleep under the safekeeping of Morpheus.